you're all doing well. I really do. So let's go ahead and turn the chat on. I got some stuff to go over. It'll be a little bit different than usual. We'll mix it up a bit and give it a couple of minutes for people to join if they're going to. Throw something in the chat so I know if it's working or not, whether or not I have to redo the entire live stream, which happens from time to time. We'll start off with some typical. I say typical, but this isn't typical in the scheme of things. But what's up, Kuts? Good to see you, brother. In the scheme of things, I thought this was interesting, though. $200 million is a lot of money. And Robert Kraft decided to combat anti-Semitism by how do you do that with money? Who do you pay off? What has to happen with $200 million to fight hatred? Not even anti-Semitism, just hatred, right? To combat anti-Semitism, he commits $200 million to fight hatred. That kind of sounds redundant, doesn't it? Robert Kraft's foundation to combat anti-Semitism commits $200 million to fight hatred. Isn't that kind of one and the same? Shekels well spent. Well, let's see. Let's see what's going on in the Kraft Foundation. Robert Kraft's foundation to combat anti-Semitism has committed $200 million to fight rising hatred in the United States. No, I don't think that's exactly what's going on. I think it's just a different group of people that other people are talking about, and that cannot happen, right? You can't talk about certain people, of course. The Norman and Ruth Rales Foundation invested $100 million, and Kraft matched the donation. Kraft's foundation is known for its Stand Up to Jewish Hate campaign, which was launched earlier this year, and go figure, and has reached more than 120 million people. How so? Kraft also appeared at the NAACP convention in Boston this past summer, where he spoke about how important it is to stand up to hate. They keep talking about this. Nowhere do I ever see any definition or any explanation whatsoever of what hate is. They never provide examples or anything of the sort. They just say hate. We don't like it. We're going to stomp it out, which could be interpreted by different people in different ways. It's subjective, obviously. But we'll jump ahead. I got some other stuff I want to get to. Just figure I'll give it a couple of minutes. Hit the thumbs up. We'll do what we can to skirt around the censorship that clearly takes place on this channel. I come across these channels all the time that have thousands and thousands of subscribers, and they don't do anything. Like it's nothing. I'm not put people down, but just trash channels. But they talk about acceptable things, right? The things that the powers that shouldn't be have no problem with you talking about. But the second you start getting real and you start addressing some of the problems that society is facing, well, can't have that. Shut it down, right? You would think over time I would get better at this craft, that I would draw more people in, but apparently the opposite is occurring. Because my first channel did pretty okay. My second channel was the best by far. And then channel after channel after channel after channel after channel after channel got worse and worse and worse as far as the subscription base, which is fine. It's like I've always said, it's not a popularity contest, and I don't want just random people anyway. It gets frustrating. I read comment sections on other channels, and it's like, oh my goodness, if I had to deal with this, not that it would really bother me, but it kind of would, in the aspect that, like, some of the things that I see people saying, it's just the idiocy of it, and it's like, ugh, help us. Never before seen virus that causes malaria-like illness already circulating. Oh, yeah? You don't say. We'll save that. I'm pretty sure that there's been some genetic experiments dealing with mosquitoes, with Oxitec and other biolabs around the country, around the world for that matter. I'm sure that has absolutely nothing to do with it. A never before seen virus that causes a malaria-like illness has been detected in Peru. The disease was first seen in a man in his 20s who went to the hospital after suffering from 2 days of fever, chills, headaches, and muscle pain, among other symptoms. So, who knows? Who knows? But it's good to pay attention to these types of things because you don't know what one they're going to decide to run with. I think what's going on with the pneumonia, that's probably a good contender, judging by the way the media is covering it and how China is reacting to it. Much the same as the way we seen it back in 2019, late 2019. And now we are in late 2023, so it could fit the bill. But the virus is classed as a phlebivirus, which causes acute febrile, feverish illnesses, including malaria and Rift Valley fever, bleeding from the mouth, ears, and eyes. That sounds fun. Typically spread by biting insects. Bill Gates is all over biting insects. He loves ticks. He loves mosquitoes, calls them flying syringes. Which in itself is pretty alarming when you refer to an insect that injects its mouth into you as a flying syringe. Well, hey, I guess that's the way he likes to look at mosquitoes. We'll jump ahead. I'm not going to spend too many minutes on these. Is the chat working? I seen it off and on. Oh, people are just falling off. That's what's happening. Sorry, I'm not keeping your attention. We got some stuff we'll get into, though. As usual, I'm not going to jump right into the good stuff. What's this? Oh, just more of the same, right? Dave Portnoy says Barstool Sports won't hire anyone from MIT, Penn, or Harvard until their presidents apologize for refusing to say anti-Semitic remarks constitute hate speech. Well, if anti-Semitism didn't cover every single thing that you could possibly say, you literally cannot be critical of a certain group of people. Now, you can be critical of any other group. You can say things that might upset you, that you don't agree with, that their politics, ideologies might not. No, not with this group. Because the second you do, it jumps the line from simple free speech to anti-Semitism. Hate speech. And I don't care. I'm not going to read it. So I left I think I did. I'm not sure. Did I do that? No, I don't think I ever got around to it. I'm going to leave a link for my other channel. I'm going to start using it more. First off, I need 50 people over there. I got 18 subscribers right now. That's on, I forgot the name of my own channel. Scratching the Surface. And I'm not exactly sure the format that I'm gonna be trying out on that, but I have some ideas. I actually have 2 other channels, and I think I'm gonna use them both differently because I'm not gonna use this channel for those types of things. It just wouldn't blend well with the type of content that I cover. It's kind of completely different, but I do want to get it off the ground and start going. And I think I've kind of figured out a balance where I can keep it from being shadow banned And maybe using some of the tricks, some psychological techniques, maybe we could even get it in the algorithms to be promoted. I don't know. We'll find out. But in order to do that, we're going to have to get over 50 people over there so I can do lives. Because though I'll put up a video every now and then, I definitely prefer the format of a live stream. All right, I'm going to jump into some videos. I doubt we're going to gain anybody. There's some stuff that I do want to talk about. This is one of them.
And to use Trump's continued embrace of these lawbreakers, a federal prosecutor said they plan to use Trump's continued embrace of these lawbreakers against him at trial. The Justice Department saying that the fact that Trump continues to celebrate and support the insurrectionists shows that his intent was indeed to commit federal crimes. And that Trump, quote, sent supporters, including groups like the Proud Boys, whom he knew were angry and whom he now calls patriots, to the Capitol to achieve the criminal objective of obstructing the congressional certification, unquote. Now, these new developments come just hours after a stunning comment by House Speaker Mike Johnson that Republicans...
Now, this is what I want you to pay attention to, and I'm sure you've already heard it, but I definitely want to cover it a little bit because it says a lot, right? And I want you to think about what the implications of all this are, what's really going on here. So, obviously, we know January 6th was just another attempted coup, and both sides, right? When you get to a certain level, there is no difference between left and right. It's only down here in the public sphere that they want to keep us divided and arguing with each other on different ideologies and politics. But once you get to a certain level, they're all drinking cognac and smoking cigars together. It's a game on us, and they're doing everything they can to orchestrate different false flags, different psyops. Obviously, January 6th was one of them. And they're going to play it every inch of the way as it's a left versus right, just basically left versus right, right versus left. But with the left ending up being the ones that are proven wrong, just like the left being the ones that are kind of okay with crime, the left that are being the ones that are allowing everybody through all the real issues, right? The left with the economy. This is all designed so we can get Trump back in the White House, or somebody very similar to him, such as Vivek Ramaswamy, depending on how it plays out. This is Problem Reaction Solution 101. What's up, Melissa? Good to see you. I didn't even read your comment. Active research. The last stream didn't work out. I mean, it's kind of a long story, but it's not really a long story. It's just some BS, really. This is what they do. And though we know, like, they just did another one with UNLV, right? The mass shooting and stuff. But this one's much bigger because this, with the UNLV and other psyops that are similar with the mass shootings, it's clear what their agenda is, right? One is the obvious of going after the Second Amendment. They cannot have an armed citizenry when you're trying to be a bunch of tyrants taking over the world. That's a problem. But the second is a little bit more subtle, I should say. It's the mental health issue that it's constantly brought up, right? The left will say, let's go after the guns, while the right says, no, it's mental health. Well, either one of them, right? So you could already say, what's the compromise? Well, if you have any type of leanings, this is how it starts, like leanings towards things that are mentally unhealthy that they deem as such as conspiracy theories or any of the other hot button terms that they use. And that's going to explode the next time the mental health one especially, we're getting to that point now where AI, they're using different types of algorithms and everything like that to determine who may or may not be capable of doing these types of things. And all that's really missing now is a major catastrophe, a major psyop. And then they're really going to go balls to the wall and start going after those types of people that they have been labeling and putting in boxes for years. January 6th being the last big one that was clearly orchestrated all the way through, and I'm not so sure it wasn't intended to play out exactly like it's playing out now, right? With the left versus right. They want a civil war. They want to divide this country. Because once real shit starts going down, the United Nations will intervene. I think it's funny that, well, let's go ahead and listen.
Have not yet released the full Capitol security footage from January 6th, as he promised his right flank, because they're busy still blurring the faces of the rioters so as to protect.
Nope, not all the rioters. For some reason, they're going through this footage with a fine-tooth comb and only blurring certain faces. Why would that be? Why only blur certain? Well, clearly because there's government operatives behind it. We've known this, and they're blurring that's bullshit. The FBI, so, right, the excuse that they give is so they don't incriminate the rioters. Well, the FBI, the government already has that footage. They already have it. So blurring it isn't going to prevent the authorities from having that. It's only going to prevent the people from seeing who it is. And already, props to the people that have seen what they've seen, because they've already put the faces to the names of actual feds that were there doing stuff. So it's amazing to me to see. What's up, Jen? Good to see you. I appreciate you being here. And thank you so much. I haven't had a chance to actually thank you in person for the last donation, the support of this channel. It helps so incredibly much. So I really, really appreciate it. Thank you. It's suspect, to say the least. I see no reason, especially they're not blurring them all. I mean, they'll probably get to that, right? They'll probably like, well, this looks too obvious. We need to blur all the faces. But the ones that have been so far that are accessible doesn't blur all the faces. It only blurs the faces of the feds. Now, they'll never admit that, of course, but clearly that's what's going on.
Protect them, at least in part, from prosecution.
We're going through a methodical process of releasing them as quickly as we can. As you know, we have to blur some of the faces of persons who...
Some of the faces. We're not blurring the faces. The new Speaker of the House, good old Christian boy, Mike Johnson. Is that his name? Yeah, Mike Johnson. I always want to call him. Oh, his middle name's James, right? Mike James Johnson. Yeah, I might be wrong on that. I don't know. Some of the faces
participated in the events of that day because we don't want them to be retaliated against and to be charged by the DOJ and to have other concerns and problems.
What? Now, in response to understandable questions about Speaker Johnson's comments, his office tried to pretend that the speaker did not say what we all heard, and they tried to pluck out the comment about preventing DOJ from prosecuting them, saying, quote, faces are to be blurred from public viewing room footage to prevent all forms of retaliation against private citizens from any non-governmental actors. The Department of Justice already has access to raw footage from January 6, 2021, unquote. To date, more than 1,200 people have been charged for their actions on January 6.
And that's the cover-up, right? So it's a quick back step, being like, oh, well, we obviously got caught up. Now we got to put out a statement. and say, oh, well, what we meant was we don't want retaliation from, like, other people, like the left. No, I'm not buying it. Not buying it for 1 second. You're not going to blur the faces of some people because you don't want retaliation from some people. It makes no sense. And again, I'm probably playing right into their hands. They're well aware of how this looks. I don't buy for 1 second that they're as stupid as they pretend to be on many of these things. They literally have the best of the best, the brightest minds in all fields. Whatever field that they need, they get the best of them and recruit them. The people with IQs of 150 plus, they're brilliant. They think many, 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 many steps ahead. And they know what the public reaction will be. They got this down to a science. And it's all about the division, right? So even though they're blurring some of the faces, even that, I think, it is orchestrated to be exactly that.
And more than half have either pleaded guilty or been found guilty at trial. Let's bring in CNN's Jamie Gangel and former federal prosecutor Elie Honig. Jamie, what we're talking about here has become a central part of Trump's 2024 campaign, not just embracing the rioters and promising to pardon them, but also continuing to lie that the election of 2020 was stolen.
Right. Or as Liz Cheney likes to say, the fact that he remains a clear and present danger by continuing to say these things. Look, Jake, I think this really is an extraordinary glimpse at certainly a part of the special counsel's case. It speaks to intent.
All right. Enough of that. I can only take so much of this propaganda. Moving on. Now, this was interesting. What does this mean? And this kind of plays into what I've been saying about with the left letting everything go, right, to get Trump in. Because they want to make it look like this ideology, the left, has allowed crime to run rampant, which they have. But they've done it for a reason. They've done it by design, and they've done it so when the tables turn and we get a president of the other side in, that they can start cracking down, right? Putting it legislation maybe, or doing whatever necessary.
What a second term would look like and concerns that he would govern as an authoritarian. Donald Trump is no longer merely suggesting he'll be a dictator should he win a second term. Now, he's just coming right out and he's saying it. Watch.
I want to go back to this one issue, though, because the media has been focused on this and attacking you. Under no circumstances. You are promising America tonight you would never abuse power as retribution against anybody.
Except for day one.
Except
Look,
what?
he's going crazy. Except for day one.
Meaning?
I want to close the border and I want to drill.
That's not retribution.
I'm gonna be, he keeps, we love this guy. He says, you're not gonna be a dictator, are you? I said, no, other than day one.
Now, Trump's the one who said dictator, right? He never said, he said you're not going to abuse power, which I guess you could make the argument could be dictatorial. But those weren't the words. And for the front runner of the Republican Party to say and say the word dictator and admit, except for day one. Now, people can chalk that up as, oh, he was joking around. Are you sure? Are you sure? Because I've heard him say a lot of things in the past that didn't seem like he was joking around about. And what do you suppose that would mean, right? What I would think that it probably refers to the problems, again, that I've just got done explaining about how bad the left has allowed this country to get. By design, of course. So the savior of this country can then come swooping in as the savior that he was chosen to be and do more damage to our fundamental rights in the guise of getting rid of all that has been destroying our country. And they do this legislatively, and he'll be cheered along the whole time, right? Because all of the people, the mass majority right now, see what's going on. They feel it in their pockets. And they're like, this administration, this ideology, these politics, this is destroying everything. And then they want the furthest thing from that. Like all of it with they just purposely go out of their way to make sure that Trump's going to be selected, putting him through all these fake trials and doing his mugshot and everything. Every time he comes out stronger, they're making sure that he wins. And you have to wonder why. And I for some reason, I always go back to that Barron book. What is it, like The Adventures of Baron Trump, and Trump, the Last President? Or, no, it's not Trump, the Last President. It's just The Last President, and it's about somebody called Baron Trump. And they describe in that book, you can go to the Library of Congress, and you can download the PDF version of it and read it for yourself. It's a little bit hard to read because it is literal photocopies of the pages, and all of them don't really come out perfect, but you can definitely get through it. And if you haven't read it, I definitely suggest you do, because I don't know how this was forecast back then, and maybe this was all part of the plan, or maybe there's some type of divine intervention. Maybe there's time travel. I don't know. After all, it was Trump's uncle who was the first inside Nikola Tesla's room, his apartment, when he died, and got access to all the papers. And everybody knows who studies Tesla, one of his biggest things that he was working on was time travel. So it's a crazy possibility. I don't know how much weight I give it, but the amount. Yeah, I know. I love that you knew damn well I was a snake before you took me in. Does everybody here know that? Because it's worth reading it. Let me see if I can find it on ScrewTube. You knew I was a snake before you took me in.
You knew I was a snake before you took me in.
Who has heard the poem called The Snake? So I have it. Does anybody want to hear it again? You sure? Are you sure?
What's up, P4? Good to see you. Appreciate you being here.
Okay. So let's dedicate this to General Kelly, the Border Patrol, and the ICE agents for doing such an incredible job. Right? This was written by Al Wilson a long time ago. And I thought of it having to do with our borders and people coming in. And we know what we're going to have. We're going to have problems. We have to very, very carefully vet. We have to be smart. We have to be...
Now, it's very ironic that he reads this. Good call, Jen. It suits this situation far more than it does with his little immigration tactic. The Bidens, I mean, it's again, is a central bank, Freemasonic, satanic above anything else, Luciferian agenda that's been in the works for hundreds of years. They've always played things many steps in advance. And they always put their little symbols, and they leave little clues and crumbs. Just enough to keep people wondering, and it's almost as if just enough to make sure that the people out themselves, such as myself, such as the people that are aware and awake, the first that need to be eliminated.
Vigilant. So here it is, the snake.
What's up, Jay
It's
Cree?
called the snake. On her way to work one morning, down the path along the lake, a tender-hearted woman saw a poor, half-frozen snake. His pretty-colored skin had been all frosted with the dew. Poor thing, she cried, I'll take you in, and I'll take care of you. The border.
You.
Take me in, O tender woman. Take me in, for heaven's sake. Take me in, O tender woman, sighed the vicious snake. She wrapped him up all cozy in a comforter of silk and laid him by her fireside with some honey and some milk. She hurried home from work that night, and as soon as she arrived, she found that pretty...
That was the office that he had shaken like an earthquake, wasn't it? Active Research?
snake she'd taken in had been revived. Take me in, O tender woman. Take me in, for heaven's sake. Take me in, O tender woman, sighed that vicious snake. She clutched him to her bosom. You're so beautiful, she cried. But if I hadn't brought you in by now, oh heavens, you would have died. She stroked his pretty skin again and kissed him and held him tight. But instead of saying thank you, that snake gave her a vicious bite. Take me in, O tender woman. Take me in, for heaven's sake. Take me in, O tender woman, sighed the vicious snake. I have saved you, cried the woman, and you've bitten me, heavens, why? You know your bite is poisonous, and now I'm going to die. Oh, shut up, silly woman, said the reptile with a grin. You knew damn well I was a snake before you took me in.
So yeah.
One. We're live.
No, I think he's probably more accurate referring to himself as that. I think that is a good metaphor for what's happening here. Now, I wouldn't be the least bit surprised. I've been going like completely off topic. I get things lined up and stuff that I want to go through, but I like this freeform format a little bit more, and it leads me to things that I want to look up. And right now, although it's tough, right? Because Elon Musk, I'm pretty convinced, is the Antichrist. But this head wound thing, right? The Antichrist head wound verse.
The Antichrist head wound verse.
Hey friends, welcome back to the Maranatha Global Bible Study on the Book of Revelation. This is now session 40. We have a really interesting subject that we're going to discuss this week. We're going to talk about the fatal head wound of the beast. Okay, what exactly do the scriptures mean when they talk about the beast in Revelation chapter 30 suffering a fatal head wound? We're going to discuss the different options, the different possibilities in terms of what it might mean, and then of course I'll share what my opinion, what I lean toward, and what I think it indicates.
Likewise.
and what we should be looking for. Okay, now, before we actually jump into the subject, I want to give a real quick plug. We put up a little video about a week or so ago. Mine is you get to know instructors as well. Relationships that we formed for the end of February. But I did want to just put up a little plug for that because, as I said, enrollment's closing here soon. Okay, so let's go ahead and jump into the study. So as I said, the fatal head wound of the beast, a very unique, different, controversial subject, but it's very relevant. It's very central to the biblical narrative here. So let's go ahead and read. Let's begin by reading Revelation 13, 1 through 4. It says, "And the dragon stood on the sand of the seashore." So the dragon, of course, is the great serpent, Satan, the devil, as it says previously in chapter 12. "Then I saw a beast coming up out of the sea." So here's the empire of the Antichrist. He has 10 horns and 7 heads. And on his horns are 10 crowns or diadems. And on his heads were...
How many zones did FEMA divide the country in?
blasphemous names. And the beast, which I saw, was like a leopard, and his feet were like those of a bear, and his mouth like the mouth of a lion.
That sounds like Trump to me.
Very unusual, very different. And as we discussed in last week's session, although it has the body like a leopard, it says that it's a scarlet beast. So maybe it's a leopard print from the 1980s, kind of scarlet. When I was in middle school, we used to have fluorescent pink leopard bandanas. They were super popular. It says the dragon gave him his power and his throne and great authority.
The dragon is the United States. I think that's settled. I don't know. I haven't heard any convincing arguments against that. All scripture that I've seen so far definitely makes the United States the beast. And then there's the beast system, which is Elon Musk's system. It's the Antichrist system, right? Doesn't necessarily mean the Antichrist, I guess. Because I'm divided, right? I'm divided between Elon Musk and Donald Trump. But it may just be Elon Musk's system. Because the Antichrist is a spirit, after all, right? It is the Antichrist spirit. Now, there is one person who emboldens that character, or embodies, I should say, that character. But nonetheless, there are numerous references about the system, the way that the system operates, right? And to me, that speaks of our technology and what's happening with that and AI and how they're looking into being able to identify people ahead of time before they predict crime. Like all sort your electronic digital passports, your digital identity, the way they're trying to eliminate online anonymity. There's all these pushes that clearly align with biblical passages speaking of this exact same thing, like with the buy and sell, right? We've seen a little bit of that during COVID when they keep talking about, well, if you haven't been vaccinated, well, you can't go into this store, or you're not going to be able to keep your business open, buy or sell, right? Now, that's similar, but it's going to be much more pervasive, I think, than that. But Trump, on the other hand, really, to me, seems to be a good description or a good representation of this description of what they ultimately call the beast. Because the dragon is the United States.
Satan gives his authority to the beast. Now here's the key statement. And I saw one of the heads as if it had been slain, and his fatal head wound was healed, or his fatal wound was healed. So one of the heads, it's like it was dead, but then that fatal wound is healed. And the whole earth was amazed. As a result of this healing, the whole earth, or the whole land, was amazed, and it followed after the beast. They worshiped the dragon.
It's almost like we're seeing a bit of that now, the way they've been going after him, right? Like fictitiously, of course, but still, nonetheless, to your general consensus to the population, they view it as he is being attacked by every angle all the time. And if he somehow prevails and becomes president, well, then he has kind of conquered that. And it would be like, there's no stopping this guy. You know, he has risen above all that they're throwing against him. Though I don't think that that is what they're talking about. I think that it is something similar, dealing with the same character. However, I think it's going to be more literal than that. And let me see if I could find something real quick. Donald Trump assassination.
Donald Trump assassination.
From deadly poison-laced letters to a forklift fiasco, Donald Trump's life was on the line not once, not twice, but 3 separate times by would-be assassins. Being a world leader is a dangerous business. Surprisingly, in more than 2 centuries, only 4 American presidents have been killed while in office, first being the death of President Abraham Lincoln in 1865. In office from 2016 through 2020, the 45th U.S. Commander-in-Chief Donald Trump clearly survived his time in the White House. There were several attempts on his life, though, including 3 during his administration and 2 while a presidential candidate, although one turned out to be a false alarm. Perhaps unsurprisingly, the divider, Trump in the White House 2017 through 2021, claims that Trump was worried about attacks on his life, despite his public persona suggesting otherwise. The book reads, at a cocktail party, Trump told several of his Florida friends he was afraid Iran would try to assassinate him, so he had to go back to Washington where he would be safer. Though none of the reported assassination attempts on Trump's life were successful, it proves that the job of U.S. president is still risky, despite modern security measures and 24-hour Secret Service protection. The first time Trump's life was threatened, he was still the presumptive GOP nominee for the White House. At a 2016 campaign rally in Las Vegas, British national Michael Stephen Stanford tried to snatch a firearm from a police officer. He later said he intended to shoot and kill Trump and expected that by doing so, he too would be shot and killed by law enforcement. Stanford was apprehended and rushed from the scene. He later pleaded guilty on 3 charges and was sentenced to 1 year in prison in the U.S. before returning to the UK. What was first
1 year. He tried to assassinate one of the front runners of the United States for a presidency, and you get 1 year. That sounds legit. Sounds legit. Maybe they're just building a narrative, right? This has happened before. Should we be so shocked if it happens again? Type thing. Maybe, maybe not.
falsely reported as an assassination attempt against Trump came while he was still running for office, and it also happened in Nevada. Austin Kreitz, the supposed assassin, went to a campaign event in Reno and pulled out an anti-Trump sign that read Republicans against Trump. Someone then yelled gun, and the Secret Service swept in, beating Kreitz. Trump was rushed off stage only to return a short time later. Kreitz was then apprehended. After questioning, Kreitz was found to be unarmed and released.
Kreitz. Interesting name. Interesting name. So, there's that, right? Tucker Carlson, I believe. Let's see if we can find anything on that. I didn't read what P4 said. By our sorceries, we're all nations deceived. Tucker Carlson, Trump assassination.
Tucker Carlson Trump assassination.
Former Fox News host Tucker Carlson again suggesting that he expects Donald Trump to be assassinated. Let's watch.
Are they going to let Trump be president?
Of course. I mean, look, if, they protested him, they called him names. He won anyway. They impeached him twice on ridiculous pretenses.
It's funny, his background setting is not, I mean, what stands out to you immediately? President dead, right? Roosevelt dead. Everything else is like sepia and kind of like sitting into the background, but there's one just freshly printed on nice white paper frame that says Roosevelt dead. And what's the topic of conversation? I'm sure he's always had that sitting there.
Fabricated a lot about what happened on January 6th in order to impeach him again. It didn't work. He came back, then they indicted him. It didn't work. He became...
What's the Bible verse say? Is it not what Tucker Carlson is saying right now?
More popular. Then they indicted him 3 more times, and every single time his popularity rose. So if you begin with criticism, then you go to protest, then you go to impeachment, now you go to indictment, and none of them work, what's next?
A fatal head wound.
I mean, graph it out, man. We're speeding toward assassination, obviously, and no one will say that, but I don't know how you can reach that conclusion. You know what I mean? Like, they have decided, permanent Washington, both parties have...
Now, he's a CIA agent. They're all intelligence. The intelligence communities, MI5, MI6, and the CIA, the NSA, all of them have been working together for a very long time, since the assassination of Kennedy, who was the last president, even though wasn't 100% pure, was the only president that had actually done everything he could to hold the intelligence agencies accountable, to find out what was really going on. And look what happened. Since then, it's been free reign, and the people that they have selected to be in office have only strengthened their resolve. There has been not one president, regardless of all of the bullshit that comes out of their mouths pre-selection, when it comes time, when it finally comes time to do what's the name? Put your money where your mouth is, right? When you're actually chosen, and it's like, okay, well, let's see what you hold up. Are you going to hold up your end of the bargain? They never do. They only strengthen. They give them more money. They increase their budget. And there's always these new threats that they got to go after. And previously, they have been foreign threats. So a lot of Americans have just been like, yeah, whatever. You got to do what you got to do. Here's more of our taxes. Here's more of our hard-earned money. All of those hours you spend day in and day out at your job, being ripped out, 30% just taken right out. For what? Because they sure as hell ain't doing anything as far... I mean, like, all your goods have gone through the roof. The quality of living has gone down. Your roads, your bridge, they're all crumbling. Our taxes are only going to prop up this military-industrial complex and the intelligence agencies that have now turned their sights not on foreign countries, bodies, organizations, ideology, but on the American people themselves, which was always what was intended, because America, through its divine grace of God and its foundation, was built upon the best, up until that point, of a concrete way to instill in the laws, in any law thereafter, that these truths will always remain. The fact that we have freedoms that are inalienable, that must hold true throughout. Now, since the foundation, since the very beginning of this country, there have been two sides playing into it, right? There's been the evil and good. I guess we could just chalk it up to that, because it's kind of really what's been happening. But this country is a little different than the rest of them out there, because the people here and what this was created upon, we truly value our freedoms, and we are the last vestige of hope for all of the world. So it is a priority in the New World Order to subvert and conquer the United States. And that has to happen. And they have to do it in any way possible. And they can't They can't just do it outright. They have to do it through what they're doing now, right? They're creating psyops and attacks on this nation. And then somehow, regardless of all of that, the number one threat that America faces are Americans. And all intelligence agencies, that's what Edward Snowden was warning about years ago. That's what Julian Assange is still being held. Because the WikiLeaks, I don't know how many of you have ever spent time delving into the unbelievable amount of files that were loaded to WikiLeaks, but there can be no doubt at this point that the American government, with the assistance of MI5 and MI6, have been looking into and going after, creating lists upon lists of people that they view as a threat. And the only reason that they view them as a threat is because they're up. How do I put this? Because they see what's going on. Because they understand, like you and I, that not because they're ready to carry it. They use those attacks. Like if it's a genuine one, they love that. That helps them in their cause. That helps them go to Congress and be like, we need more money, and get it. But what the real threat is us, the American people that are aware and awake of what is taking place. And that's a problem, and that's why they're letting tons of people out of prisons. They're letting everybody go. They're building new camps to house the immigrants. Good, yeah. They're building them for that, but we'll see who ends up being there in the long run.
Decided that there's something about Trump that's so threatening to them, they just can't have him.
Okay, this is bonkers. I flagged this immediately after Donald Trump and Tucker Carlson did that sit down, that counter programming to the GOP debate. And the first exchange of questions that went on for an uncomfortably long period of time was a series of questions about Jeffrey Epstein, which Tucker Carlson said he was asking. Do you believe that he killed himself? He says, I'm asking these questions, Donald Trump, because I think that he was killed because of his politics, because of what he could reveal about all these important people in the world. And I think that you might also have a target on your back. I think we have a bit of that clip. Let's watch it.
Do you think it's possible that Epstein was killed?
Oh, sure, it's possible. I mean, I don't really believe. I think he probably committed suicide. He had a life with, beautiful homes and beautiful everything, and he all of a sudden he's incarcerated and not doing very well. I would say that he did, but there are those people. There are many people. I think you're one of them, right? But a lot of people think that he was killed. He knew a lot on a lot of people.
He was killed.
You think so?
I think the closer you look, I'm not a conspiracy person at all. I believe everything I hear. But yeah, the closer you look into it, I mean, the Attorney General of the United States, your Attorney General, clearly lied about the Epstein death.
Yeah, he was.
Why?
He was certainly. It wasn't well done. They had no cameras. They had no anything. Everybody was sleeping, and a case could be made. Look, I'm not going to get involved in it, but I can tell you a case could be made either way. But it certainly wasn't the most well-run place.
So I hear not Trump, my bad. I hear Tucker Carlson's got an interview with X tonight. You guys want to check it out? See how long it takes for them to get rid of me? Let's go ahead and look.
The world's most dangerous man, the most censored man in the English language. But honestly,
This should be fun. I don't expect we'll be live, so I'll say thank you guys for joining the live stream. I appreciate you being here. Obviously, share the channel. Get a pen and paper or open up your notepad or do whatever you can do, because I'm going to give you my backup channel. That's going to be something that you've never seen from me before. It's going to be much more honest. It's going to tell you a lot more of who I am. And it's going to be raw and real. And it's scratching the surface number 4, right? Not number, just scratching the surface for you. At scratching the surface for you. I need to get 50 people over there. If I can get, I got 18 now. If I can get 50, we're going to get it started. I know I could just create videos until I reach that. That's not what I want to do. So hopefully you'll go over there, subscribe. I'll give you a minute. Let's do it right now. I can do something. I guess I could freestyle. I'll do a quick little freestyle in the meantime while you're doing it. Scratching the surface for you. No, I'm not going to freestyle. I'm not going to do that. Unless you guys wanted me to. Hint, hint. No, I'm just kidding. I don't rap. I don't like rap anyway. I can. I'm just giving you a moment here so you can do it.
When you get him in front of an outhouse in the woods, he doesn't seem so dangerous.
So fancy outhouse.
We have a ruling class in the United States defined by its hatreds, not its loves, not its
Now, clearly, I can't let this play continuously. That would be... I'm going to get copyright already. The thing about... the Section 13 of the Fair Use Act allows for me to cover news and things like that. But I just got a copyright, literally, the first one, Jen, number 4. Just 4, as in, like, your first one out of that. The number 4. I lost my train of thought.
hopes, but by its hatreds. They hate all kinds of people, large groups of people, the deplorables, the bitter clingers, America's entire blue-collar population, the unfashionable people. They're hated by the people who run our country. But no one is hated more by them than a man called Alex Jones. Alex Jones is the single most censored man in all American history. He was the first media...
The second one, J. Cree. You, as in you. Scratching the surface, at, scratching the surface, for, as in the number, you, as in the letter. As many people as I can get over there. I need 50, and then we're gonna get the party started. Believe me, you guys have no idea. Well, some of you do, actually.
Figure in our history to be completely erased in one day, deplatformed. Alex Jones was deplatformed before it was a common term. And not just deplatformed, sued, attacked. They attempted to criminally charge him. What did Alex Jones do wrong? Alex Jones didn't rape anybody. He didn't loot Macy's. He didn't burn a police station. He didn't invent a fake cryptocurrency and loot pension funds. He didn't start a pointless war that made this country poorer and more disorganized. He didn't open the southern border. No, Alex Jones had opinions that deeply rattled the people who run America. In fact, rattled a lot of us. And I'll just confess.
Like I said, I got to keep doing it. I remember my train of thought right after that. And that was basically saying that CNN, the news, right, the Fair Use Act, I covered CNN, which is supposed to be news. But I got copyright for that, for the CNN clip. And I was thinking, like, how obvious do you have to make yourself to the point where, because it does cover news. So if it's news, which CNN claims to be, then you're protected. But entertainment news is not news. It doesn't have to be true. And that's how they get away with a lot of their propaganda and their lies. And that's what everything is now. All these 24-hour running news networks aren't news. They simply use the term news so people take them credibly. Creditiously? I'm not sure the exact term you use there, but...
That I first heard of Alex Jones when he questioned the official story behind 9/11. And I, speaking for myself, was deeply offended by this. I didn't take any time to find out what he was saying, but I was bothered by the idea that this defining event in American history, which changed the life of everyone who lived here then, might not actually have unfolded as we were told it did. And that possibility was too destabilizing. And I remember feeling resentment toward Alex Jones for saying that. But several years later, I wound up in Austin, Texas, and through a chain of circumstances, wound up meeting
That's it right there. But there's an @ You got to put the @ sign in front. Let me know if it's working. We've got to get this resolved. This is important. This is really, really important. I know it might not seem that way right now. It's life and death. Literally.
Alex Jones. Alex Jones. And I learned what everyone who has met him now knows, which is Alex Jones is not a crazy person. Alex Jones has said pretty far out things on TV from time to time. Not that far out. He hasn't said men can become women or Ukraine is a democracy, but within the bounds of, say, cable news, pretty far out. But fundamentally, Alex Jones is right about a lot of things. And in fact, that's why they don't like him. Alex Jones has an uncanny, really an amazing ability to predict events before they happen. He has called it, and he's done it on tape again and again, to the point where it's a meme on the internet. Alex Jones, prophet, not conspiracy nut, prophet. But when you dig into Alex Jones's predictions, they are so spot on that it's remarkable. How does he do this? We're guessing there's a kind of spiritual sensitivity to Alex Jones. Maybe that's his secret.
We're going to look. That's crazy. Yeah. I can't find it either. How many people were able to find it? Because that should have brought it up right there. Let's do it this way. Nope. It's funny that they bring up this one. This, like, how does Perdition Media come up when I'm searching, scratching the surface? So that leads me to believe that I won't have any success on that channel either if they're automatically tying this channel in. This channel has absolutely nothing to do with scratching the surface. This is a different phone number, right? So I know how they operate. So I tried doing this completely separate from everything that they have on me. A different name, a different phone, different email, different, everything. That's what so I got two theories on that. I think they use voice recognition and subscribers. And I know for a fact that one of you are a Fed, by the way. Not here, right? Well, I don't know if you're still here or if you've joined yet. I'm not going to say anything. But I know for a fact. And that makes me wonder, like, I mean, that's to be expected. I'm sure there's probably more. It wouldn't surprise me if like half of my following, right? That's the way it works. But when you look up Scratching the Surface, that has absolutely no ties to my channel here, but somehow you can find that before the actual channel, that says a lot. That's disturbingly insane to me. I can't really, like, not that I'm not aware that that technology exists. Of course it does. But the fact that they're doing it on some nobody like myself with 100 and some odd subscribers, that's scary. Because that means every single one of you guys are being monitored. Every single thing that you do is either going, and of course it is, going through some type of AI algorithm to determine what's going on, but to associate things that are clearly not related. I don't even log in. That's bizarre, man. Well, scratch that. Back to the drawing board. I'm going to play a little bit more of this, guys, and then I'm going to wrap it up. I am still going to, for those that are subscribed to Scratching the Surface and were able to find it, I am still going to utilize that, but I got to do something else. There's no way there's no way that should have came up. Like, you should not see my channel on here. Try at Scratch. Let's do that. So type in Scratching the Surface 1. That little praying mantis guy. Thank you, by the way. Yeah, I was hesitant about giving that one out because that's like mine. Yeah. Scratching the Surface for You is what should be able to be looked up. That's what it's titled as. That's like my email version. I didn't mean hesitate. I just didn't think that one would work. But I was wrong. It's probably backwards. So I probably just gave out the one I didn't want to give out and ended up saying the wrong one. But either way, hey, check it out. It's Scratching the Surface 1. Try that. And that's that little guy right there. So click that. But it doesn't matter because that's going to be a no-go now, obviously, because when I type in Scratching the Surface and it brings up my channel that I'm currently on is a problem. Let me know if you guys get it. There's nothing on there. And this is all going to be completely different. We basically just got to get to 50.
So the reason I'm asking you is I'm looking at the trajectory since 2015 when you got into politics, for real, and then won. It started with protests against.
Got to give credit to my wife on that one. I was giving you guys the wrong one. It was my email. I thought of the other one, but I was like, well, no, that's my email one, but I had it backwards. So thanks, Melissa.
To massive protests, organized protests by the left, and then it moved to impeachment twice, and now indictment. I mean, the next stage is violence. Are you worried that they're going to try and kill you? Why wouldn't they try and kill you, honestly?
They're savage animals. They are.
Back to the Alex Jones. We'll do about 5 more minutes of
He was
this.
displaying this years before the average person in this country even.
We'll do about 5 more minutes of this, maybe 10 at the most. Then I'm going to wrap it up. I really hope you guys go over there and subscribe. I got to do, you guys are all familiar with A Call for an Uprising and the games he's been playing with YouTube lately. I used to think that dude was the show, but I'm still not convinced he's 100% legit. Just because during COVID he was able to say shit that I got with 40,000 subscribers, he was able to say shit that I got strikes on, and he would like I would barely even mention the thing, like graphene for instance, and bam, strike immediately. However, this dude would do elaborate retakes of my, not to say that he was copying me, but literally almost word for word the graphene shit, and I was like, how can you get away with this with far more reach, yet some little nobody on YouTube is getting striked out? That always struck me, but I'm not, that doesn't necessarily mean anything, but he's been having to change channels a lot. I don't want to do that. I have to do a couple of things. This is the next step, so we got to get at least 50 people over there, because that'll be the ticket, right? That'll lead you to where we need to be.
Thought about matters like that. Now it's pretty obvious to most people that the current war going on in this country is taking place in ways you can't see it most of the time. But 10 years ago, people were not thinking that way. Alex Jones was. And so we thought it'd be interesting to sit down.
It's always the same. It's always perdition. That'll never change.
And talk to Alex Jones, the man. He joins us now in our studio. Alex Jones, thank you.
Wow, Tucker, it's great to be here. Amazing studios, amazing people. And this is really going to be, I think, a historic interview. So thanks for having me.
Well, I'm really grateful to be able to do it. And it's one of the great blessings of my life and of my job is that I've been able to meet people that I've had preconceptions about, and sometimes find those preconceptions bolstered, and in other cases demolished. And you're definitely in the second category. So I want, for people who've made it this far, the people around the country have really succeeded in making you disreputable. And the whole point, of course, is people won't listen to you. So we thought it'd be interesting to start with a series of on-tape predictions that you made, some of which are so precise.
Now, this could be because his father, like Tucker Carlson's father, were both in the CIA. I bet you they don't mention that. I bet you neither of these gentlemen on screen mention that both of their fathers are in the CIA. And I bet you they both don't mention that they both applied to be in the CIA. I think that's important information, is it not? Now, what's interesting is public records. You can find out anybody who applies. You can't find out if they've been accepted or not. They can say they weren't accepted, of course they will. And we will never be none the wiser. It'll only be conspiracy theories and whatever they want to chalk it up to. But it is fascinating. Anybody who's lived in a military family or know how these government families operate, it's a generational thing, right? Almost always. I guarantee you, if you look up almost every single member in the Congress, in Senate, who's ever been a member of the executive branch, and then you look at their parents, I bet you'll see something very similar. And if you look at their parents, I bet you'll see something very similar. Fact check me.
And so prescient that it makes the hair on my arms stand up. And I'm being sincere, and our viewers are about to see what I'm talking about. Here is a list of things that you called ahead of time.
By the middle of September, that the new policy's being written, you will all have to wear masks again, and so will airport employees.
It's happening. Mask mandates are officially back.
We know the Joint Chiefs of Staff wanted to blow up airliners, Baltimore Sun, or if you let some terrorist group do it, like the World Trade Center, we know who to blame. And if there was an outside threat like a bin Laden, who was a known CIA asset in the 80s,
this group and its leader, a person named Osama bin Laden,
he's the boogeyman they need. We're looking at a giant war in February right now. I predict the Russians are going to roll in. They're already there. They're going to roll in.
with attacks across Ukraine.
Why would you predict? What fucking indication do you have that the Russians will roll into Ukraine in February? Tell me, Alex. Other than your CIA buddies, how could anybody predict that one? Why don't we talk about real predictions? Like, go back in my video, Active Research, if he's still watching. He's got a whole archive of shit that I've been 100% right on for years and years, and it's not based on CIA information.
Which is the size of Texas.
It really was the Iraqis. That's just because they're getting ready to invade Iraq. And what a beautiful setup.
Those 9/11 clips are crazy. I'm actually bothered by the precision of them. I'm not accusing you of being behind 9/11. But how could you, in July of 2001, call that? You said they're going to have airliners fly into the World Trade Center and they're going to blame a guy called Osama bin Laden. Now, leaving aside what actually happened, how could you have known that?
Well, in the longer clips, it's a multi-hour show from July 25th,
And I think I'm going to wrap it up as well, guys. So I appreciate you being here. I'm glad that we were able to resolve that, thanks to my wife. So head over there and subscribe if you haven't already. That is important. We got to get up to 50. How that'll happen, I don't know, but hopefully it will. So I hope you guys have a good night, and I got some interesting stuff coming up. At least I think so. Maybe I'll be able to get it ready for tomorrow, but if not, the next day. I hope you all have a good night, good day tomorrow, good week, good month, good year, decade, century, millennium. Much love. God bless. Peace and out.